started?
Well,
I'm ready.
Alright, let's go.
Okay, I'd like you to introduce to Where's Wally, an app that we've given out for free to everybody in a bushfire area who needs to have a plan of attack and that they're going to manage in an event of a bushfire. We went through the design thinking phase yesterday. We looked at a lot of things. We looked at videos, we read documents, we went through the internet. We identified a lot of things we could do, but we knew we had only 24 hours, so we brought it down to a very tight application to manage the situation where we have a group of people who felt lost in that whole event that was bushfires. We have Wally, who needs support. He is a person who stays at home. He's chosen to stay at home and look after his home. He has a big house. He loves his car collection. He has a dog. And he has chosen to stay and defend, which is a generally acceptable process within Australia. You stay and defend your property. But he needs to be up to date with everything that's going on. So we built out this technical structure, and my technical advisor here will run through that process.
we use every single thing that InnoJam threw at us in some degree, and it's all there. I won't go into detail of this, but it's more about the functionality you're going to see. So that's just so you know we use everything, or try.
We have a database out there that is running with Hannah, part of which has a registration system in where, because he's a bushfire conscious person, he's pre-registered his details. From that database, he's going to be receiving emails that give him information on what is going on. So his
there's a fire front coming in from the east towards
his first email is about being aware. So he's now at an alert level aware. Be aware and keep up to date. Commence to update your prepared checklist.
Now, I will point out here that we've used email purely because we've done an HTML5 app which we could have used the phone gap to make an app and actually do proper notification, but for the demo purposes we used email as the way of notifying you. So just to be aware, email is not the best push notification. It would normally be a pop-up on the device.
So now we're going into our Where's Wally application.
So I'll be Wally at this point.
Yes,
so this is basically this is the Prepare Act Survive Where's Wally app. And the first thing they do is got a list of prepared questions as he set up previously. He's going through to check his preparedness rating. So he goes through, he's got the fuel in the vehicles, he's up to 10% now. And basically just keeps going through, maybe he won't get to 100%, but you know, he's done and checked the things he needs to do. He says, okay, well based on that high fire alarm alert, I'm probably right for another 2 days, so I'll submit that. And
the wind's changing, you need to raise a new alert.
Oh, new alert coming in.
So now we've received the next alert. The situation has got worse. We are now in watch and act phase. He's chosen to stay at home, so he's in the watch process, but his family now moves into an act process. And what we're now getting is information on safe exits and also notification of where he is sending his family as to a safe haven. So he's looked at the app, he's looking out at where the various fires are in their various risk areas. He's sitting here still in Kinglake, but with his dog, and working on his problem, and updated to say he has sent his family to a particular safe refuge. So they are en route. We have further applications available.
I might just mention at this point also, we did have one of the issues during the project of Gateway could have cached information, so we've actually got the cached information coming from the next phase. So you can see a lot of extreme risks for this guy at the moment. He should be actually getting out of there right now, but the Gateway cache seems to be something you have to kind of wait a while to get rid of. So just to be aware that fire symbols and ratings should be much lower at this stage.
He's now in a situation where he's expecting the next email. He's a little bit worried as the family got there. So he now received another alert that says, "Dear Wally, your family have arrived at their safe haven." This is because they've registered into the safe haven, into the database. "Please now consider your own safety and update with the system, plan, act, survive with your status." Okay?
So is that fire front heading towards Dalesford at 4 kilometres an hour?
We've now got to the extreme situation where if Wally doesn't get out, he's dead. So he's got to survive. He now has to update his application, find out what his safe exit route is, and sort out what he's going to do next. And we now go with the survive phase. Survive phase will come up with Wally, the extent of the fires around him, and it will show him his safe exit routes. Here we have the fires have got worse. They're tracking this way. We've got a wind direction running here. His safest route out is through this area. Unfortunately, it really is getting too late. So the next act we will see will be where his alternate safe havens now are, because he's not going to be able to get all the way out. No, I don't know where it is. We had a great fun doing this, guys, and we used the talents of everybody in the team. And Sarat will even tell you, this feels different this year because everybody was enthusiastic about what we were doing. So,
thank you very much.
I get what does the presentation look like? I acted as Wally, so I played the point of view of Wally throughout this exercise, saying what I wanted to know. Okay? These guys are your builders.
Any questions?
Yeah, so sorry. I saw an SAP i5 application, and I would like to know, I mean, you envision to use all of this. I kind of got the feeling that the emails didn't come really at the same stage when you had this incident. So what have you been able to implement in this short time, and what is stuff that you would still need to work on to make it actually up and running?
Okay, your SMTP server on here is not working. Is that? The HANA connectivity we couldn't get working, so we had to actually pull data real time from the web and use that through. We deployed that on Neo, which you didn't see that one, but that was working. Yeah.
That's pulling data from government websites, updating real time.
We had Power Builder, you didn't see that as well. Part of the problem with the gateway caching is we actually built Power Builder screens to change the data behind the scenes. So we didn't see that because there was no point, right? Because you couldn't actually see the data change. And what else didn't we actually do? A lot of work in Google, by the way, of course, there. Excellent work there.
What we couldn't do is implementing the personalized algorithm in HANA that we have the core of it, because the aim of the application has been to leverage the capabilities of HANA to give personalized messages rather than to give the same kind of message to everyone, for example, depending on your situation and the risk that you're willing to take. If you want to go for a community-based approach, a normal database would be okay, but if you want to go to personal level and understand and extrapolate different kind of circumstances onto that situation at individual level, that's where the power of HANA comes into the picture, and that's where I think we didn't go to the algorithm.
That was actually going to be my question, was how does it determine the options for somebody? So that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
You figured your risk rating combined with the guy over there who's got all the information about what's going on, and that's where you need to have enough analytics to say this. You probably would be community of this classification. Get out. And there might also those tracks is also quite important, because one of the scenarios here was the back channel. There's two ways to get out of his location, and one of them was completely cut off, and the other one was going to get cut off. So if you had something that could actually do that analysis, that'd be very much tailored to that person.
Just have one question. Based on one of your comments, you said you get live information from a government website. website? Where did you get this information from? Is it really live, or did you just retrieve it and store it somewhere?
Failed initially. Basically, it's from CFA. Even if you go, you can go and check the website, and they will be updating not just for Victoria but the entire Australia. So we developed that particular aspect on top of Neo platform, and as part of that, we wrote RSS clients to actually monitor that site, get the live feed, and update the Google Map locations.
Okay, so they already provide the information in an RSS feed.
In that case, I mean, okay, I got more to answer to this question. Like whether you're asking in the current circumstance or that circumstance that we are envisaging, because I think the convention, we are talking about how you're gathering information and how you're processing it. The conventional ways of gathering information is not enough if we have to provide solution for disasters such as what happened on the blind satellite. So one of the solutions, we came up with many solutions, many ideas during the design phase. One of that would be definitely installing multiple self-powered solar-based sensors across strategic areas so that the sensors will be disseminating data which will be collected and being processed centrally. Apart from that, we've got many ideas like handheld generators or something like that, because
I quite like the drone idea as well.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Chickens.
So
We were having roast chicken actually.
coming to these,
And Lara,
practically locating these kind of sensors is not a very odd one. For example, if you want to look at the tsunami observation system, that's what they do. If you look at the way they place the buoys across the oceans, there are approximately 3,000 buoys that are floating on the oceans, and the way how they calculate where the tsunami is going to hit Australia is not based on any advanced technologies, but based on the signal that the buoy is sending, like how much height is going up and down, and based on that they will be doing some primitive calculation between the time the wave took to hit this buoy to this buoy.
The distance. Yeah.
Exactly. So similar infrastructure has to be established if we have to deal with bushfires of this magnitude.
But you were saying there that you have some assumptions on the real time from this CFA website, but the power builder was just for your purposes at this point, but could be another way of some central administration.
Basically, I think we can get those things without any problem, but what we try to do is we try to get those feeds from Neo environment, which is very new to us. Actually, we got it going in a different sense, like, if we build your Java classes and house them outside Neo environment and continuously poll the RSS feed or grab the data, there is no problem, but when we try to move those things to the Neo environment, maybe we don't have enough experience with handling things or architecture, then we are unable to hit the services. So here, failure to gather the live data from the existing RSS feeds is due to our lack of experience with a particular infrastructure rather than the concept. Conceptually, if you run the program separately on a command prompt, it can read the RSS feeds.
You presented the events about Wally in a sort of, 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of format, right, sequential sort of order. I'm looking at the fact that human beings, basically they may react in a very sort of, strange way, they may through fear or whatever it may be. There's an element of unpredictability there, and so instead of having those events to be asynchronous, I'm looking at some sort of synchronization. Are there any thresholds considered in your design to perhaps allow for Wally to think or not to do the wrong thing and so forth? And again, in terms of real data, going back to CFA, does your design consider any sort of self-identity? Because Wally, in a life-threatening situation, he may need to, broadcast part of his personal sort of, security information.
We missed off the Where's Wally button, because the office of last, it's on one of our slides. Yes, it's on one of our slides where the last resort is that we press the Where Wally's button, and that sends out signals on to somewhere, so that people can identify exactly where Wally is in the state of emergency.
Part of the app is it's actually meant to be context aware. It's meant to actually be operating in a certain mode depending on where you're at. So you can't panic when you're in prepare. It knows you're in survive mode. So that Where's Wally button would only be there in survive mode. Basically, not have false positives and all that sort of stuff.
And Wally's also actually told the app what his, when he was preparing himself, he was sitting there in an environment and saying, please advise me when the situation has reached this point. Now, he may not get the second and third, first, second and thirds. He may get the very final one because it got there very fast. He won't have to have 1, 2 and 3. He will absolutely get 3.
And Wally was very well prepared. Part of his persona was he does think about the fires and has thought this through already, so he should be reacting on his plans, not on panic.
We try to take the panic out of that situation.
So does your design incorporate fault tolerance, or do you rely on fault tolerance, from CFA?
Individual risk, that's what we consider. Like how it's up to, for example, when do you want to vacate? That's up to your decision. Like what I'm saying. Everyone has certain risk threshold that they can go through, and that's what the personalization that we intend to implement in the algorithm. That this is my risk profile. I can take the risk until the risk is up to this level. So yep.
There's also got to be an aspect if you do lose connectivity when you're in a heightened state that it has to flag out, I've lost connectivity. You probably should get out and have safety things like that. We didn't build any of that, of course.
But the data that's being collated in the HANA environment could be used to just broadcast radio messages. If everything went pear-shaped.
So that 1, 2, 3, 4 that we had was mainly for our purpose of tracking it through. But as you rightfully suggested, it may not happen in that sequence. As Matt said, you might go, those numbers...
You don't get
Sorry?
You don't get the highest number.
Yeah, you basically, whatever the situation is at that time. And that notification where prepare, notice how Wally said it to notify me in 2 days again. So if it reaches that prepare threshold again, it's not going to notify him unless 2 days has passed. So he can also nominate what frequency he wants some of those notifications to come through. Obviously, the critical notification is going to come through as and when it happens. But some of the other ones which are not so critical, like prepare, he can nominate, as Wally did on his little slider, notify me in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Great. So thank you everybody for your presentations. I'm going to ask the 3 judges now to leave the room. And you have about 5 minutes. 10 minutes.
Oh no, they're clear leaders.
10 minutes.
No bribes for the judges?